It's Monday, May 14th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, we get an inside look at some new technology coming to Barnstable High School, and Representative Randy Hunt talks with us about conference committees and the budget on Beacon Hill. A look at today's weather. A murky start to your Monday. Mostly cloudy skies early, then partly cloudy in the afternoon, high 61. Winds are south 10 to 15 miles an hour. Sunset 7:53 p.m. A few clouds this evening and overnight from time to time, low 54. Let's start today with some news you can use. The rain didn't dampen the spirits or the celebration of the reopening of the skate park in Hyannis on Saturday afternoon. Though the competition was cut short as the ramps got slick, there was lots of smiles and appreciation for New Nicanello, president of Bass River Sports World, and his generous discount of equipment. Tune in tomorrow for the community reaction and video of the festivities. Proposals for the redevelopment of the Cape Town Plaza on Route 132 are now being accepted by the Town of Barnstable and the Barnstable Municipal Airport Commission. Proposals for a 49-year lease on the property owned by the town but under the custody and control of the Barnstable Municipal Airport are due by 2 p.m. August 31st. An information session and site visit for potential applicants will be held at 10 a.m. June 25th at Barnstable Town Hall. The Town of Barnstable Highway Division will be repainting the white edge lines and yellow center lines on all town main roads that have existing yellow and white lines. Work started Sunday, May 13th, and will continue through Thursday, May 17th. The work is expected to be done during the evening hours from 10 p.m. through 5 a.m. Weather permitting, the public is encouraged to seek alternate routes to stay off the freshly painted lines. The lines will take approximately 15 minutes to set up, enough to cross over. As always, please slow down and use extreme caution when traveling through the roadwork areas and follow posted safety signs. An investment in innovation and technology is an investment in our children's future. Barnstable School District Technology Director Beth Ann Orr gives us some insight on how innovation and technology are worked into the curriculum and shares how Chromebooks will help students and teachers adapt. We're at Barnstable High School today with Director of Technology for all of Barnstable Schools, Beth Ann Orr. Welcome. No, I should say welcome. This is a little computer lab that we have here, but there's some big changes going on at Barnstable Public Schools with technology. Principally, we heard that there's a whole lot of Chromebooks headed your way.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So we've recently purchased 2,000 Chromebooks, and this year was a very exciting year because what I've been telling everybody is we've gone Google. So with the purchase of 2,000 Chromebooks, we've spent a lot of time working with teachers. And most recently, we just left Novell GroupWise to go to Gmail. So many of our teachers have now adopted G Suite and Classroom. We've spent a lot of time working with teachers, working with Classroom and adopting Google Docs, Sheets and Slides and Forms and adopting the whole suite. So it's actually very exciting to have the whole entire district move to that in grades 3 through 12. In K to 2, we still have iPads.
Okay.
But
so when we talk about moving to a particular machine, computer, what comes along with that is actually the cloud.
And truthfully, I say we've gone Google, but we've been a Google school for the past 10 years. And so we've had Chromebooks, but in limited numbers. And what's fortunate enough with Meg Mayo Brown being the new superintendent, she recognized how important technology was in modern education today. I hate the term 21st century because it is 2018. So we were fortunate enough to have her invest heavily into Chromebooks. And so currently we have 30 Chromebooks at the high school. Chromebook carts, I should say. We have 16 carts at BIS, Barnstable Intermediate School. We have 18 carts at BUES. We were fortunate enough to have an anonymous donor do a classroom cart at Hyannis West. And so that's been very exciting. And we do have one cart for every other elementary school, and I'm trying very hard to convince finance to actually look at leasing, and we can save a significant amount of money. And I'd like to bring in more Chromebook carts. Right now we're in a 2-to-1 ratio for classroom and Chromebooks, and that's fantastic for MCAS testing, but we really do need to get to a 1-to-1 if we really want to adapt classroom. And so several years ago we've done Google Academies, so if you joined our academy and you took a 38-hour PD class, then you got access to the Chromebooks. But now that we have them, we do try to do on half days our PD, for half days, after school, before school, PLCs in our professional learning communities. We try to get to our teachers, faculty meetings. Anytime we have free time, we try to get to our teachers. We even get into the classrooms now. So we were very fortunate to have our first digital coach at the elementary level, and she's been working very hard along with other content coaches to get into the classrooms and see how powerful classroom and the G Suite tools can be. So it's in our first year, and it's been a very successful year thus far.
So with technology always comes infrastructure, and you and I have known each other for many, many, many years before infrastructure was really even on the Cape to accommodate some of these types of things. So I'm going to talk I have a two-part question. First part of the question is going to deal with the infrastructure of moving data. And then the second is going to be infrastructure of using the machine in an environment. So, you know, furniture and those things. So let's start with the data. You guys are pretty equipped to move data all around the district.
Yeah, we were very fortunate enough to have a long-range plan. And we were very fortunate enough, previous superintendents, to understand how important it was to make sure that our infrastructure was built out well before we purchased any type of equipment with our iPads, with our Windows machines, etc. So the town of Barnstable was gracious enough to fund our capital improvement projects, which was close to $600,000. And at that same time, we applied for E-rate funding. And at that same time, fortunately, they had changed the laws for E-rate funding, and we were able to apply the Category 2 E-rate discounts. And so $600,000 went a long way to build out our infrastructure, 10 gig connections. The fiber at the same time was being built at the town of Barnstable, so we've got upgrades of our servers and our switchers and all of our wireless. I mean, it was just the perfect storm to come together. So I wasn't hesitant at all to purchase all this equipment. It was beautiful. 10 gig connections, the fiber in town, open Cape. I mean, everything just came together just beautifully. Everything was right there for Barnstable. We were so fortunate to have all that funding.
Talk a little bit about the infrastructure of furniture. You know, we did this little pre-interview earlier, and it came out as huddle stations and laptop bars and innovative couches. How does that play into as infrastructure?
Yeah, so you talk about modern education now, and you know, unfortunately, you still walk down the halls and you see the classrooms still, you know, in rows, and so we've got some work to do. But with that said, we're doing some really great things in our libraries. And so we're turning our libraries into, we're going to call them innovative learning labs. We're reorganizing the whole entire venue. And we've spent the past year looking at all kinds of different furniture. The idea now is huddle stations and laptop labs and everything being mobile now, and actually couches and beanbag areas. If you want to think Google, if you've ever visited Google in Cambridge and what it's like to learn, you want to be comfortable, and you want to make it conducive to learning. You want to have personalized learning stations, and so when I talk about huddle stations, so if you want to have collaborative learning spaces where kids are working on a project, you're going to have their own little huddle station where there's a screen, there's computers, it's quiet, they can collaborate, work on projects. We're going to have iPads, Windows stations, Chromebooks, video cameras. There's going to be virtual reality, green screen stations. So everything that you need is going to be there. But in those innovative stations, we want classrooms and kids coming there, and that's where we're hoping that innovative learning is going to take place. We have Coding for Girls. That's a club that's going to occur. Now, for instance, we have a couple of students, I think there are 12 actually, that have applied for foresees dual enrollment, that want to take the cybersecurity class. So again, it's looking for the funding to make sure that we have the funding to offer these classes, to find teachers in the right certification, because along with those standards, they just changed the teaching certifications on us. So it's all so new and fresh. We're just putting all our ducks in a row and making sure that the teachers have the proper certifications. Along with that, we're trying to develop the PD that assists all those teachers in finding that, getting that certification, finding that PD. You know, so the skills that these kids need to acquire, and how we need to catch up as an educational institution to, number one, make sure we're aligning ourselves to the curriculum frameworks, making sure that we have the proper certification and the teachers in front of them that have those skills to teach it, and then to provide them with those skills that are marketable, you know, is a very challenging thing, and we need to move quick, and then we need the funding for that. So you have to put that package all together and make sure we're offering a proper program for these kids. That's hard work. So those are the kind of things that we're trying to do, but it's challenging at best.
I think you're up for the job, Beth Ann. Thank you so much for
You're welcome.
talking with us today.
Yeah.
I believe that Barnstable Public School Systems have really taken the challenge of innovation in education and have raised the bar across the district. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so nice to see you. Thank you.
Congratulations to Mackenzie Connor, our BHS intern. This is her final update.
Hello, I'm Mackenzie Connor, intern for Channel 18. There's a lot happening at Barnstable High School this week. Applications for class officer positions for next school year are now available in all house offices and class advisor doors. Applications and speeches are due no later than Friday, May 25th to your advisor. Live elections will be held May 30th during extended block. Up now in the main lobby art gallery is a photo exhibition by senior Caroline Brote documenting her visit to the Maasai Reservation in Kenya. These photos are available for purchase. Student council members will meet May 15th. There will be elections for next year's officers and planning for a school pep rally for next fall. This meeting will begin at 2:05 in room 1701. Senior Spirit Week will start Tuesday the 15th with Red Raider Pride Day, then Tacky Tourist Day, Character Day, Decade Day, and ending with Future Day on Monday the 21st. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Mackenzie Connor.
Randy Hunt, State Representative, joined us on the phone last week for an update from Beacon Hill. On the phone with us, Randy Hunt, Representative, has some fond memories in his rearview mirror of bridge work. Randy, how are you today?
Hey, pretty good. I am so happy that we are not talking after the Mother's Day debacle of 2018, and instead that the crews were able to get everything finished on the Sagamore Bridge well ahead of their schedule of being off the bridge by Memorial Day. So, yep, I'm happy about that. You know, it's always a problem when you just have one lane going in each direction. The big picture is cars are going to wait. But we tried to do everything we can to alert people to the situation and deal with a couple of the pinch points, you know, using the traffic light and blocking off some road rage inciting spots to try and keep everybody as calm as possible during that few weeks when we were dealing with these major delays.
Well, we thank you quite a bit for the communication that came out of the Army Corps. You distilled some facts and things for residents that, you know, and again, kudos to them for getting this work done as quickly as possible.
Yep, it's a good thing. I hope that we're going to be well on the way to planning for a new bridge, and that's something that I'd love to see decided this year, and I think that we are going to make that decision this year.
Great. Well, talking about decisions, some things in the legislature this week. You are looking at some age 21 components to tobacco and vaping.
Yeah, exactly. We have in Massachusetts about 70% of the people live in towns and cities where purchasing tobacco products and vaping products is already set at 21 years of age or higher. And but it's not everywhere in the state. So the bill that we're taking up this week does two things. It raises the age in the state for purchasing these products to 21, and it also adds vaping to be equivalent to smoking cigarettes or any tobacco products in public places where they are prohibited. So in a restaurant, in a sports stadium, wherever it happens to be that tobacco products are banned, that would also apply to these e-cigarettes.
Well, that's actually good news for folks that might bother, and I think there shouldn't be too many objections to it, right?
It's going to fly through. I'm pretty sure of that. I doubt that too many people are going to raise an objection to that. It's a two-edged sword. When I was on the one of the committees that we heard a few years ago about e-cigarettes, the point was made that they can be an effective tool at helping somebody stop using nicotine products, and I believe that that's probably true. But what we found is the ease of getting these devices and hiding these devices that end up looking like little flash drives for your computer, or these jewels that they call them. They are being used by young kids, and I'm afraid that it just also pushes them towards trying other things or using different liquids in their jewel, and potentially even using liquids that contain nicotine and would put them on the path to becoming a smoker someday. So it's a good tool for some people who are trying to get off of that, but by the same token, it's a real problem, I think, for our kids in high schools particularly.
So we'll wrap up today's conversation. You've got a conference committee appointment.
Yes, I do. We have 3 members of the House and 3 members of the Senate that are going to take a look at the 2 bills that were on the same topic but produced slightly differently from the House and the Senate. And that is related to the guarding of personal information. And this was a bill that was in a pipeline well before the huge theft of information from Equifax that affected about 148 million people. But that certainly put an exclamation point on the issue. One of the things that I did at the time was when we had the hearing, I testified to the fact that these credit bureaus are charging $5 to freeze a credit account, and that's really the only way that you can prevent for sure anybody getting into that information is to freeze your account. But there are 3 major credit bureaus, so it costs you $5 a piece to do that. But if you want to buy a car, you want to buy a house, or you have some other credit application that's going through for any purpose, you essentially have to take that freeze off so that a legitimate lender can take a look at your credit, and then you have to put it back on. And what's happened is that $5 charge gets repeated over and over and over, and people are paying that simply to change a switch in the computer program to turn it on or turn it off. And just as an illustration, if only 10% of the people whose records were breached in this Equifax incident decided that they wanted to put a freeze on their account, if only 10% of those people did, the 3 credit bureaus would make $222 million for flipping a switch in their software. And then another $220 million every time that a freeze was taken off. So a couple of components in this bill are related to that. Number one, we will not allow these companies to charge for freezing and unfreezing, if you want to call it that, thawing your credit account. So that will be free going forward. The second thing that it does is it forces, this is one of the differences between the Senate and the House bill. The House bill forces anybody who loses your sensitive information like Social Security numbers to pay for credit monitoring for a year. The Senate version of the bill says to pay for credit monitoring for 5 years. Their reasoning is that if you just do it for a year, the people that stole the information can just wait it out and then start using it nefariously after the year disappears, and you wouldn't have, unless you're paying for it yourself, you wouldn't be able to see that kind of thing happening in your credit file. So there are a few things that are part of this bill. I think it's good no matter how it's going to come out. It's going to protect consumers, and it's going to put all kinds of companies besides credit bureaus who have your sensitive information on alert that they are going to have to be active and pay for the results of having lax security.
Well, I think that's a really great bill to actually have in the Senate and the Rep and the Conference Committee right now, because as a former programmer, it literally would take just one line of code to make that to say suspend for 2 weeks while your credit check's happening.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's no incremental cost to that, as you know. As a I was a programmer too, by the way. We should talk about that someday. But yeah, people go online, they request a freeze or to unfreeze the account for a period of time. It goes through the internet. The computer program gets it. It processes that instruction. There is zero incremental cost to earning that $220 million every time. Only 10% of the people do that type of thing. So it's a money maker. Look, the credit bureaus make plenty of money by selling your information to people who are interested in it. We tend to be pawns in this game, and over the last 10 to 15 years, the credit bureaus have figured out how to squeeze the people whose information is on their system, with permission or not, for additional fees for doing these things like credit monitoring, like freezing your account, like putting in your own comments about errors that are happening there. And there's whole industries that are built around that. And I think that the fact that they have all of this information on just about probably 75% of the adult Americans in this country, the fact that they have that information and they didn't safeguard it simply because they failed to install a patch to fix a problem. Right. And then several months later, somebody took advantage of that back door and stole 148 million records is just infuriating to me.
Well, thanks for your work on this, Randy. Important work it is. And we'll check in with you in another couple of weeks, and hopefully this has passed, as well as the over 21 for tobacco and vaping products. Thanks again.
I look forward to talking to you again, Paula. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Mark this event on your community calendar. Curious to know what your friends and neighbors think the next big ideas for Cape Cod are? Be a part of this exciting event on May 15th, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Cape Cod Beer, 1336 Finney's Lane, Hyannis. It is free for all participants. Each live pitch participant will have just 2 minutes to present a big idea. Pitches may highlight a solution to a community challenge, share positive actions or success stories already occurring on the Cape, or propose community goals and priorities. Following the series of live pitches, audience members will be asked to vote for their favorite big idea. Here is a schedule of boards, commissions, and committees for this week. We were inspired by our children in today's episode, so we leave you with this quote by Thomas Edison. "The greatest invention in the world is the mind of a child." I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.